Now this little snippet of video that you see with me and an individual who I was testing, this individual has only one functioning eye. And I knew that a traditional PRI program is not going to work for her so easily because her visual system is going to run her body. And that lack of two eyes cooperating, meaning that she's only, and if you look at my video from last week, this will make more sense about the visual system, that her body will get tightened up because of that faulty visual system. But when you watch the video at the end, because I'm not going to show the whole thing, at the end I'm just going to let it play. It's about 2.5 minutes. It's fast forwarded as quickly as I can do it. But everything is written out so everything I'm telling her, everything I'm having her do is written out in subtitles so you can read it. But she is going to be walking with music, timing her heel strikes with the music, and you'll see how her tests change according to the situation, according to the amount of stimuli I put into her brain to overcome that visual maladaptation. But quickly, this is what happens. Upon initial testing, remember, she only has one functioning eye. Upon initial testing, she cannot pass her adduction drop test, so her left leg, her pelvis is patterned, that's what we know, and she cannot pass her internal rotation test of her shoulders. There's other tests I didn't show. She can't side bend her neck. All of that. She fails all the tests. When I have her walk, nothing really changes. Well, nothing changes at all. But then when I have her walk with music, and she's rhythmic, she plays the drums. When she walks with music and her heels hit the ground with the beat, that's important. You can't just walk with music. Your heels have to hit with the beat. And she is walking to Rocket Queen from Guns N' Roses. She passes all her tests. Then I have her walk again with no music, and she loses her neutrality. Well, so when she passes her tests, her body's in a state of neutrality, in a state of rest. When she walks with no music, we take away the music stimulus, the music input, the auditory input, she loses her neutrality, she goes back into the pattern. Then when I have her listen, this is the fascinating part. Then when I have her listening and thinking about walking to the music, she's neutral. Then when I have her listening, so she's still listening to the music, but she's not thinking about moving or dancing or walking to the music, she's thinking about other things, she fails. And I ask her to think about something she dislikes. She fails, her body tightens up again. But then I have her listening and thinking about walking in a pleasurable place, and she passes all her tests again. So really, what is this pattern? Well, I don't even know. But it's tension. I know that's tension. But there's so many ways to resolve tension that if you think PRI is just about PRI techniques, it is not. It's PRI techniques in support of movement. There are so many things that you can do, even if you don't have a PRI therapist, to help you with PRI outcomes. On April 22nd of 2021, the founder of the Postural Restoration Institute, Ron Haruska, said this: "I honestly can tell you, Neal Hallinan, that's me, is one of the most effective, probably the most effective PRI individuals I know, because I know the patients, clients, he works with feel their own program." And he said that on April 22nd, 2021 at this conference, Interdisciplinary Integration, Basal Ganglia Disease. And what he was referring to also was that rhythmic, professional and non-professional dancing to music, obviously, is the highest art of bipedal function. So what he's saying is that bipedal function, upright, 2 feet, that dancing is the highest form of human movement. Now this, of course, is his opinion. Notice he did not say PRI techniques. He did not say baseball, football, soccer, or anything else. He said dancing. And that goes back to why he said that I'm one of the most effective PRI individuals, because I know that someone has to be able to feel their body. They have to be able to feel rhythm to get their body moving without compensation. And PRI is walking and breathing. And walking and breathing are governed by rhythm, as are pretty much all of our biological functions. Respiration, circulation, the rhythms of our daily hormonal fluctuations, our sleeping, our resting, our feeding is rhythmic. Everything in our life is governed by rhythm. The universe is governed by rhythm. And that's why he said this. Before I go any further, do I have any evidence for this? Okay, this is Your Brain on Music, one of the greatest books ever. To Dance is Human. All these books are based on science, all right? Studies and anthropology and how human societies exist. Music and the Mind. Musicophilia by Oliver Sacks, one of the probably the most famous neurologist, brain doctor of all times, who describes how the only way that he was able to regain sense of his own body after, I think it was a skiing accident, was through music. It would have been faster if he had PRI also, but through music. Rhythms of the brain. The brain runs on rhythm and music. Harmonizing your craniosacral system. It's referred to as the craniosacral rhythm. Our cranium has a rhythm to it. Healing with the arts. Music as medicine. Polyphonic minds. Music of the hemispheres. I also have books about another book called Dancing is the Best Medicine, based on neuroscience, on brain studies. So there's plenty of evidence for music and dancing and movement for therapeutic effects. You look at this quote from The Brain from the Inside Out by Georgi Bousaki. Although we have no direct sensors for space or time, so the brain has nothing to measure space or time, we do have vestibular sensors. So the vestibular system is the inner ear balance, upright balance. We do have vestibular sensors to detect changes in velocity, acceleration, forward and back movement, or any type of acceleration. And the head direction system can calculate vectorial displacement. There is a system of neuronal activity that keeps track of where your head is positioned, even at night, even when you're sleeping. Motion per se can be directly experienced from optic or tactile flow, touch, so optic, visual, and tactile flow, which is touch, and corollary discharge without the need to sense space or time. What does that say? Basically, our brain interprets our own movement, and that's what brains are for. A lot of brain scientists think that the only reason a brain and a central nervous system exists is for coordination of more highly complex movement. All of these things, head direction, vestibular signals, down and up, forward, back, side, side. That's what walking is. That's movement. It's PRI. Touch, as our feet are hitting the ground. As the environment is moving past us, as we're turning or moving forward. All of that can be done through dancing. Weightlifting, no chance. You got none of that. I don't even know why exercise is actually really thought of as something that's going to fix people. Exercise itself? Just exercise? Why? The brain doesn't even know what exercise is. It's just a meaningless movement because most exercise is not based on any of what I just read. And it's too static to begin with. So I'm not even going to get into that. All I'm saying is that quote, music and dancing, is that way better than any other type of rehab that you can really find for a body, because rehab for the body really doesn't satisfy, the way it's done, doesn't really satisfy this quote. So the brain regions involved in music and dance. So as you see this clip of myself and a friend of mine just messing around and practicing, these are the brain regions that are being engaged. And PRI is all about the brain, which commands the muscles to do certain things. The motor cortex, the sensory cortex, obviously the tactile feedback, the feet hitting the ground and the touch and feel of a partner, if you have a partner. The auditory cortex, listening to the sounds, perception, and analysis of tunes. Prefrontal cortex, creation of expectations of music. Violation and satisfaction of expectations. So as you're dancing or as you're listening to music, your brain is predicting the next beat. And music is too boring. Music is kind of boring when it's too predictable, but when it violates your brain's prediction and then it resolves the prediction, oh, your brain loves it. And they show that dopamine is actually released in response to this violation of your of expectations. So music that changes up, actually, as long as it's rhythmic and not too difficult to figure out, causes a release of dopamine and other endorphins. The cerebellum, which is involved in movement, balance, timing, and rhythm, emotional reaction to music. The visual cortex, reading visual, so you have to read the visual cues of a partner, leading and following, navigating the dance floor, so you're constantly using your perception, your peripheral awareness. So when I'm dancing on a floor with hundreds of people and it's very tight, my brain is, I am constantly keeping aware of who's around me, because I don't want to turn my partner or move my partner into somebody else. So you are being surrounded by tons of optic flow and tactile cues to give your brain a sense of where your body is in space. Hippocampus, the memory of music, experiences and context, remembering dance steps and sequences. The nucleus accumbens, which is part of the basal ganglia. The emotional reaction, pleasurable or not pleasurable, to environment, music, and dance partners. The amygdala, which is fear response. Hopefully, dancing in front of others, you have to get over that fear. So the amygdala can go either way, but it's also involved in reward. The frontal lobes, figuring out musical patterns. The vestibule, the rhythm and the bass stimulate the inner ear. Vestibular system overall. Orientation, where am I in space? Which direction am I? Balance and turning and spinning. Hippocampal entorhinal complex, which is involved with figuring out where you are in relation to your environment. And navigation, navigating through the environment. And activation of feel-good neurotransmitters, usually, as long as you don't hate dancing in front of people. So all of these regions are being activated in dancing, at least in Latin dancing and what we're doing. So there is nothing that is better for a PRI program. There's no exercise out there better than dancing. My opinion, but I think scientifically it can pretty much be proven.
Good.